There we are, our old friend, the loony left graphic. We haven't seen that for a while. We're going to update it, by the way, very importantly, when Joe Biden chooses his running mate, because as we're going to be discussing, he released his economic platform this week, and the media rushed to label it as populist, which just shows how superficial they are. Biden would reverse the Trump tax cuts and deregulation that brought record jobs and rising earnings, especially for the lowest paid. If you reverse the policies, you reverse the outcomes. Working Americans would lose out. Biden also calls for total centralization of housing, schools, and economic policy, just to pick three. In Washington, that's not just stupid and inefficient, it's un-American. Here's the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. We don't talk about the 10th enough. Biden's plan isn't populist, it's socialist. It's the same loony left nonsense as Jeremy Corbyn's platform in the UK, but with an establishment face at the top to try and fool you. Jason, it's amazing to me when you look at the policy agenda, forget what they're saying about it, the actual policies, just how far left they've gone. It's almost as if the reality here is vote Biden and get Bernie when you look at the actual policies.
Well, Steve, you're right, because he lifted sections of his economic policy directly, verbatim, word for word from Bernie Sanders. Look, it's classic liberalism. What Joe Biden stands for is he wants to raise taxes. Believe him, he's going to raise your taxes, and he wants to expand government. He wants to grow government. The liberals, the Democrats, they believe that more government will solve more of our problems. And it's just a contraction of liberty. When you do that, it is fundamentally wrong, but it is exactly what they will do. And you should believe Joe Biden when he says, yeah, I'm going to raise your taxes and give you more government.
And Sarah, it's more extreme than before. I mean, the way that the party's been captured is really striking. It does remind me exactly of what happened in the UK with the Labour Party. Of course, they lost resoundingly in the end to Boris Johnson. But the question I've got is whether the argument is made, well, they're saying this to campaign, they're going to keep the activists happy, it's just for the campaign. When they get there, right, if they're elected, it won't be as bad as all this. What do you make of all of that?
It'll be worse, because this is basically not just Joe Biden. I know it's actually frightening. It really is when you think about it. This election is going to be the most important election, I believe, in modern history. It is a vote between socialism and Marxism and a free capitalist society where the individual and civil liberties is exalted and patriotism is honored. So we have those two choices, Steve. And I'm going to tell you this, it is about who's behind. Look at what's happened with Representative Ilhan Omar. Look at what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying. Look at the movement on the ground, from the young that are being pushed by the universities and the colleges to be socialist, to not value what America fundamentally stands for. So this is actually as strange and bizarre as it is. Like, I love the music you use for this. As strange and bizarre as it is, it's really frightening, because we are at a crux in this moment in time in our history, and we really have to make a decision. We really have to make a decision.
I think that's exactly right. And Jason, just a quick last thought here. I think it's frightening for another reason, about the character of Joe Biden if he were to become president, because what this whole process tells us is that he really doesn't believe in anything at all. He's a classic machine politician. He'll blow whichever way the wind goes. He's been blown far off to the left. That means you can't rely on him in a crisis to lead. It's just, that's another reason it's so frightening.
He's been in office. He was elected in 1972 when I was barely kicking a soccer ball. He hasn't lived in the real world. He's been there in the bunker. And you really wonder who behind the scenes is the puppeteer that's actually going to be calling the shots and making things happen. And, when you make Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez one of your co-chairmen of one of the policy areas on energy, believe them. These are the kinds of people that are going to be running your government. And that's what scares, I think, a lot of Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing a lot more about all that. That's the choice, as Sarah put it. All right, coming up, as we said earlier, if your school isn't opening, don't accept it. Demand your money back so you can find an alternative. We'll show you how after the break.